Welcome once again to Business and Leisure with our upcoming segment, Embassy Road. We've not had the pleasure of having a foreign ambassador in our show in recent months, but the country has welcomed some new diplomats. It is our pleasure to introduce one of them in this week's Embassy Road. Tonight, we are pleased to introduce to our viewers the Ambassador of Germany to the Philippines, His Excellency Gordon Kricke. A pleasant evening to you, Ambassador Kricke, and welcome to Business and Leisure.
Good evening.
Mr. Ambassador, please allow me to start this interview with a glimpse of your childhood. Would you kindly tell us where you spent it?
Well, I come from a rural area, basically in the north of Germany, so small town, or more a village close to a small town. So so I enjoyed that very much to grow up in with a lot of animals, farm animals, and so very different here from Manila.
Now, can you please share with us the years you spent for your education?
Yeah, well, I studied law, and I was always also interested in history or biology, but I studied law and worked some time as a junior lawyer in Hamburg, and before joining the German diplomatic service.
Since you mentioned about your diplomatic service, kindly tell us when you started on government service and what post did you hold before you embarked on a diplomatic career?
Yeah, well, I did not have any government post before I joined the diplomatic service. In Germany we have the system of career diplomats, so I joined in '94 the German diplomatic service, and before you have each diplomat has to undergo a selection procedure, and that was in '94. So I joined the diplomatic service in '95, and afterwards I was posted at a number of German embassies abroad, but I also worked some time for the European Union. It was a very interesting experience as well, something very different. Immediately before I came here, for example, I was EU ambassador of the European Union in Angola, and long before that I also worked for 1 year for the European Union in Southern Sudan. That was quite an experience as well.
Mr. Ambassador, please tell us, how long did you serve in the EU?
Well, with the European Union altogether 4 years. So the larger parts I was spent with the German diplomatic service. So I was posted, for example, in Argentina. That was my first posting abroad. Fantastic, it was a great country. And afterwards in Mozambique, in Sudan, Mexico, Honduras, in Niger, and Haiti as well. So I started in Buenos Aires as head of the press section, and I liked that job very much, to be independent at that time from the ambassador and to be able to travel through the country, visit some, together with the journalists, some projects we had. And afterwards I went to Mozambique, which is a very beautiful country as well. It was more political, job and development cooperation which we had with Mozambique. After that I had to go back to Berlin for a couple of years, and then I became ambassador to Haiti, which is a very fascinating place. Later I went to Southern Sudan, Sudan, also Khartoum, and after that my ministry sent me to Mexico, and spent also some time in Honduras, and then I went to Niger, which I liked very much. I was German ambassador in Niger, and after that Angola for the European Union, and now since end of September, I'm here in the Philippines.
Let's talk about your life here in the Philippines, Mr. Ambassador. Your first impressions when you got here, sir?
Yeah, well, I presented the credentials my credentials to the president in early December, and first impression when I came here in September, I must also say it's the first time for me in Asia on a posting. So before I've been posted always to Africa and Latin America. So that was something new, and I'm quite excited to be here to see a new region, a new country, a new culture as well here. The first impression was, well, of course, everybody in Manila is a bit overwhelmed by the traffic in the beginning, but also how friendly people are here in the Philippines. I think that makes it much easier as a newcomer to start here, to feel at home, and people here are very, well, open-minded, friendly, and so you feel nice that they treat you nicely. That makes it easier, and it's also a beautiful country. Many places. I already managed to travel a little bit in the country to see different regions, and I enjoyed it very much.
Now, with your kind permission, Mr. Ambassador, let's shift to trade and economic relations between our countries. How are they over the years?
Yeah. Well, trade. Well, economic relations. That is, of course, one of the core areas of the embassy, of our bilateral relations in general. We, both the Philippines and Germany, we have a big interest to strengthen that. And I must say that the opportunities are quite good for that, because, well, Germany economically is in quite a good shape actually. It is probably, we are better than since many years. So economy is growing strongly. The budget is balanced, and so in Europe, Germany is an economic powerhouse, and we are this year again the biggest exporter worldwide. So we export more than any other country. So I think economically it's an important partner for the Philippines. And I must say there is still a lot of untapped potential here in the Philippines. German economy is strong here. There are many German companies, but still I think it could be much more, given the well, attractiveness of the Philippines in principle as a economic partner. So I hope we can do more in the future, even more than now. Germany is already the biggest trade partner of the Philippines in Europe. So about 36% of trade with Europe is with Germany, which is quite substantial. And but in other countries in the region, we have even more economic presence than here, more investment. So I hope we can strengthen that. And we have, since a few years, we have here the German-Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry. That's very important, I think. They are doing a fantastic job in attracting more, or making German companies aware of the business opportunities here. And that I think is quite optimistic in principle about that part of the relationship.
Just recently, the German Chamber of Commerce and Industry held a trade fair for German companies. Can you update us on what are the big German companies currently doing business in the Philippines, and how are they doing?
Yeah, well, we have many companies here in Germany, all over. Well, many BPOs, of course, but also the PESA zones are very important for German companies. PESA zones here in the Philippines, I think the feedback we receive from companies is that it's what makes it very attractive is the low degree of bureaucracy, and that they have good support of the authorities. So that is, I think, very important. So, well, you mentioned that already the German-Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, they organized Mabuhay. We supported that a couple of days ago in Bonifacio Global City. I think it was a good success to show what we are doing here all together. German companies, but also the GIZ, for example, the German Development Corporation. The GIZ has also a role in promoting Germany as a destination for Philippine overseas worker in a health sector or healthcare of the elderly. So that is also something where we can do more in the future, because Philippines overseas workers have an excellent reputation, and I think they are doing a fantastic work in Germany, especially in health and care for elderly. So there is an interest, and I hope we can do even more. But you know, German companies, I think they are very relevant for the Philippines, because in many sectors they are top of the world class. So high technology, which is, of course, if you see it, well, where should be maybe the Philippines in the next 10, 15, 20 years, I think we can be a very good partner of the Philippines, especially due to the fact that Germany companies are world leaders in many aspects, especially high technology.
With all due respect, Mr. Ambassador, we shall pause for a while for a short break, and when we come back, perhaps we can tackle education, sports, and tourism between Germany and the Philippines. Business and Leisure's Embassy Row with the Ambassador of Germany to the Philippines, His Excellency Gordon Kricke, resumes in a moment. Please stay with us.